In what decade did the Nuremberg trials occur in Germany? 1940s. The Nuremberg trials were a series of military tribunals held by the Allied forces after World War II in Nuremberg, Germany. They took place primarily from 1945 to 1949, prosecuting prominent members of the Nazi regime for war crimes and crimes against humanity. In which state did the Columbine High School massacre occur in 1999? Colorado. The Columbine High School massacre, a tragic school shooting, took place on April 20, 1999, in Columbine, Colorado. It heightened concerns about school safety and gun violence in the United States. On which Saints' Day did the St. Valentine's Day massacre occur in Chicago in 1929? St. Valentine's Day. The St. Valentine's Day massacre was the murder of 7 members and associates of Chicago's North Side Gang during the Prohibition era. It highlighted gang violence and the struggle for control of illegal alcohol distribution. In 1990, which state, along with Idaho, commemorated the centennial anniversary of its admission to the Union? Wyoming. Idaho and Wyoming both achieved statehood in 1890 and celebrated their centennials in 1990. Their admittance expanded the western frontier of the United States and strengthened its national identity. What is the second largest island in the Hawaiian archipelago? Maui. Maui is the second largest of the Hawaiian Islands, known for its diverse landscapes and tourism industry. Its volcanic origins and unique ecosystems make it a significant geographical feature of the Hawaiian chain. Who succeeded Calvin Coolidge as President of the United States? Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover became the 31st President of the United States, following Calvin Coolidge. His presidency was largely defined by the onset of the Great Depression. What device, intended for motorists, was invented by Carlton McGee in the United States? Parking meter. Carlton McGee invented the parking meter to regulate parking and generate revenue for cities. The device was first installed in Oklahoma City in 1935. Which U.S. president authorized the renaming of Boulder Dam to Hoover Dam? Harry S. Truman. Harry S. Truman officially renamed Boulder Dam to Hoover Dam in 1947, honoring President Herbert Hoover's role in initiating the project. This reflected a shift in political sentiment toward recognizing Hoover's contributions. In what year was the first female individual elected to the United States Senate? 1922. Rebecca Latimer Felton was appointed to the U.S. Senate in 1922, but the first woman elected to the Senate was Hattie Wyatt Caraway in 1932. She represented Arkansas. What was the per capita tax levied by the United States Congress on immigrants entering the country in 1903? $2. In 1903, the U.S. Congress imposed a head tax of $2 on each immigrant entering the country. This was one of the earlier attempts to regulate and potentially limit immigration. What was the first United States warship to be sunk by a German U-boat in the Atlantic Ocean during 1941? USS Reuben James. The USS Reuben James was the first U.S. warship sunk by a German U-boat in the Atlantic in October 1941, prior to the official declaration of war. This event significantly heightened tensions between the United States and Germany. During which decade was National University, San Diego, California, established? 1970s. National University in San Diego, California, was founded in 1971. It distinguishes itself as a veteran-founded non-profit institution of higher education. In which state is the United States' second busiest airport located? Georgia, Atlanta Hartsfield Airport. Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport is consistently ranked among the world's busiest airports. Located in Georgia, it serves as a major hub for domestic and international travel within the United States. Who is credited with the quote, "The hardest thing to understand in the world is income tax"? Albert Einstein. Attributed to Albert Einstein, this quote reflects the complexity and often perplexing nature of income tax systems globally. It underscores the challenge of understanding financial regulations and their implications. The Mackenzie River flows from which lake to the ocean? Great Slave Lake. The Mackenzie River is the longest river system in Canada, flowing from Great Slave Lake to the Arctic Ocean. It forms a crucial waterway for transportation and resource extraction in the Northwest Territories. Which Mexican port city was seized by U.S. Marines in 1914 to prevent the import of German arms intended for rebel groups? Veracruz. The U.S. occupation of Veracruz in 1914 was a significant event during the Mexican Revolution. It was intended to prevent arms shipments to the forces of Victoriano Huerta, although the actual impact of the intervention remains debated. Which paddle steamer sank in New York Harbor in 1904, resulting in the loss of over 1,000 lives? General Slocum. The General Slocum disaster remains one of the deadliest maritime incidents in New York City history. The paddle steamer caught fire in the East River, leading to a significant loss of life, mostly German immigrants. Who served as Vice President of the United States during World War I? Thomas R. Marshall. Thomas R. Marshall served as the 28th Vice President of the United States from 1913 to 1921, during Woodrow Wilson's presidency and the period of World War I. Until 1948, where was the world's largest telescope located? Mount Wilson. Prior to 1948, the world's largest telescope was situated at Mount Wilson Observatory in California, specifically the 100-inch Hooker telescope. Which art gallery houses the most extensive collection of works by James McNeill Whistler? Freer Gallery, Washington. The Freer Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C., holds the largest collection of artworks by James McNeill Whistler, an American artist known for his tonalist paintings. Which road bisects Balboa Park in San Diego? El Prado. El Prado is the central promenade that bisects Balboa Park in San Diego, California, known for its Spanish colonial revival architecture and museums. In which city was the pinball machine invented? Chicago. The pinball machine was invented in Chicago, Illinois, during the early 1930s, evolving from earlier bagatelle games. From which nation did the inaugural Miss World originate? Sweden. Miss World is one of the oldest international beauty pageants. The first Miss World competition was held in 1951, and the winner was Kiki Håkansson of Sweden. Upon whose life was the short-lived musical, Winnie, based? Winston Churchill. Winnie was a musical based on the life of Winston Churchill, a prominent British statesman who served as Prime Minister during World War II. His leadership and oratory skills played a crucial role in Allied victory. How many operas were composed by Gilbert and Sullivan in collaboration? 13. William Gilbert and Arthur Sullivan collaborated on 14 comic operas, not 13, including The Pirates of Penzance and The Mikado*, which are renowned for their wit, satire, and memorable melodies. Their works significantly impacted the development of modern musical theatre. Regarding music, for which nation's people was the first major rock charity concert organized? Bangladesh. The Concert for Bangladesh, organized by George Harrison in 1971, is considered the first major rock charity event. It aimed to raise funds for relief efforts during the Bangladesh Liberation War. Where did Anne Frank perish? Belsen. Anne Frank, a Jewish diarist, died in the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in early 1945. Her diary is one of the most widely read books in the world and a powerful testament to the Holocaust. In which city was the peace treaty ending the Vietnam War signed? Paris. The Paris Peace Accords, officially titled the Agreement on Ending the War and Restoring Peace in Vietnam, were signed in Paris in 1973, effectively ending direct U.S. military involvement in the Vietnam War. The accords involved the governments of North Vietnam, South Vietnam, and the United States, as well as the Viet Cong. What was Scotland's answer to California's Silicon Valley called? Silicon Glen. Silicon Glen was the nickname given to a concentration of electronics companies in Scotland, primarily between Edinburgh and Glasgow, during the late 20th century. It was a significant hub for semiconductor manufacturing and other high-tech industries. What was St. Petersburg called for most of the 20th century? Leningrad. St. Petersburg, a city of immense historical and cultural importance in Russia, was renamed Petrograd in 1914 and then Leningrad in 1924 following Vladimir Lenin's death. The name Leningrad remained until 1991 when the city's original name, St. Petersburg, was restored after a referendum. What is London's biggest airport called? Heathrow. Heathrow Airport is the largest airport in London and one of the busiest international airports in the world. It serves as a major hub for international travel and commerce, connecting London to destinations worldwide. Which country is landlocked within Belgium, Germany, and France? Luxembourg. Luxembourg is a small landlocked country in Western Europe, bordered by Belgium to the west and north, Germany to the east, and France to the south. Its strategic location has historically made it an important territory in European politics. In which category did Marie Curie win her second Nobel Prize? Chemistry. Marie Curie was awarded her second Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1911 for the discovery and study of the elements radium and polonium. Her first Nobel Prize was in physics in 1903, making her the first person and only woman to win the Nobel Prize in two different scientific fields. What is the largest inland port in Europe? Hamburg, Germany. The port of Hamburg is the largest seaport in Germany and the third largest in Europe, serving as a crucial logistics hub for the continent. Situated on the Elbe River, it facilitates extensive trade and transportation networks. Which company manufactured the first car to run on diesel? Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz is credited with producing the first diesel-powered passenger car, the Mercedes-Benz 260D, which was introduced in 1936. This marked a significant development in automotive technology, offering improved fuel efficiency compared to gasoline engines. In 1939, who described the actions of Russia as a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma? Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill, in 1939, famously characterized Russia's opaque policies with the phrase, a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. This quote reflects the uncertainty and difficulty in understanding Soviet intentions during the lead-up to World War II. In Nazi Germany, what was Ensing? The final solution. The Ensing, or final solution, was the Nazi plan for the systematic genocide of European Jews during World War II. This horrific policy resulted in the murder of approximately 6 million Jews in concentration camps and extermination camps. Who was Hitler's prime minister in Prussia? Göring. Hermann Göring served as Hitler's prime minister of Prussia, holding significant power and control within the Prussian state. This position allowed him to implement Nazi policies and consolidate power within Germany. Vehicles from which country use the international registration letter L? Luxembourg. The international registration letter, L, is assigned to vehicles registered in Luxembourg. These letters are used to identify the country of origin for vehicles crossing international borders. The Channel Islands are in which channel? English Channel. The Channel Islands are located in the English Channel, situated between England and France. They are a British Crown dependency. The French region of Grasse is famous for making what? Perfume. Grasse, located in the Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur region of France, is renowned as the world's perfume capital. Its history and ideal climate have fostered a thriving perfume industry since the 16th century. Which was the last country in mainland Europe to switch from driving on the left? Sweden. Sweden was the last country in mainland Europe to switch from driving on the left-hand side of the road to the right-hand side. This transition occurred on Dagen H Day, September 3, 1967. To whom was Churchill referring when he said, "Never was so much owed by so many to so few"? RAF pilots in the Battle of Britain. Winston Churchill's famous quote, "Never was so much owed by so many to so few," refers to the Royal Air Force, RAF, pilots during the Battle of Britain in 1940. These pilots played a crucial role in defending Britain against the German Luftwaffe, preventing a potential invasion. In which year did Britain's lease on Hong Kong officially expire? 1997. The lease on Hong Kong expired on July 1, 1997, marking the end of British colonial rule and the transfer of sovereignty to the People's Republic of China. This event holds significant historical and political importance. To which country did the phrase, "a bridge too far," refer, in the context of airborne landings? Netherlands. A bridge too far refers to Operation Market Garden, a failed Allied military operation during World War II that took place in the Netherlands in September 1944. The phrase highlights the risks and ultimate failure of the operation. What is the name shared by the currency units of Algeria and Tunisia? Dinar. The dinar is the official currency of both Algeria and Tunisia, reflecting historical and economic ties between the two North African nations. Understanding currencies is important in international economics and trade. Mount Toubkal is the highest peak of which mountain range? Atlas Mountains. Mount Toubkal, located in southwestern Morocco, is the highest peak in the Atlas Mountains, a range that stretches across northwestern Africa. Its height and location make it a significant geographical feature. Which South African politician was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1960? Albert Luthuli. Albert Luthuli, a prominent anti-apartheid activist and president of the African National Congress, ANC, received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1960 for his nonviolent resistance to racial discrimination. His award recognizes his contribution to the struggle for equality in South Africa. In which township were 69 demonstrators killed by South African police in March 1960? Sharpeville. The Sharpeville massacre, which occurred in March 1960, was a pivotal event in the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa. The event highlighted the brutality of the apartheid regime and galvanized international opposition to it. What was the former name of the People's Republic of Benin? Dahomey. The People's Republic of Benin was formerly known as Dahomey, a kingdom and later a French colony. The name change reflects a shift in political identity and independence. Which country is the homeland of the Ashanti people? Ghana. The Ashanti, also known as Asante, are a major ethnic group in Ghana, with a rich history and cultural heritage. Their historical kingdom played a significant role in the region. From which nation did Idi Amin rule between 1971 and 1979? Uganda. Idi Amin's rule in Uganda was characterized by political repression, human rights abuses, and economic mismanagement. His regime significantly impacted Uganda's social and political landscape during that period. In which country are the ruins of ancient Carthage located? Tunisia. Carthage, a major Phoenician city-state, was a dominant maritime power in the Mediterranean. Its ruins in present-day Tunisia are a significant archaeological site, reflecting its rich history. From which country does the White Nile originate as it exits Lake Victoria? Uganda. The White Nile's departure from Lake Victoria marks a crucial stage in its journey as one of the major tributaries to the Nile River. Its passage through Uganda is significant for regional hydrology. Which African explorer is credited with translating the Arabian Nights? Richard Burton. Sir Richard Burton was a renowned British explorer, translator, and Orientalist. His translation of The Arabian Nights is a significant contribution to introducing Eastern literature to the Western world. After which American president is the capital of Liberia named? James Monroe. Monrovia, the capital of Liberia, is named after James Monroe, the fifth President of the United States. This reflects historical ties between the United States and Liberia, which was founded by freed American slaves. In which country did the Mau Mau uprising, a secret guerrilla movement, occur? Kenya. The Mau Mau uprising was a significant anti-colonial struggle in Kenya during the 1950s. It played a crucial role in Kenya's eventual independence from British rule. Which city, shaped like a crescent, replaced Lagos as the capital of Nigeria? Abuja. Abuja officially became the capital of Nigeria on December 12, 1991, replacing Lagos. The relocation aimed to create a more centrally located and ethnically neutral capital city for the country. What is the approximate length of the Great Wall of China in miles? 650, 1450, or 2050? 1450. While often cited higher, the main sections of the Great Wall of China, built over centuries, span approximately 1450 miles. The entire defensive system, including branches and natural barriers, is significantly longer. In which country did the Gang of Four attempt to seize power in 1976? China. The Gang of Four, a political faction, attempted to seize power in China following Mao Zedong's death in 1976. Their arrest marked the end of the Cultural Revolution era in China. Which Asian city hosted the 1988 Olympic Games? Seoul. Seoul hosted the 1988 Summer Olympics, officially known as the Games of the 24th Olympiad. It marked a significant moment for South Korea and the Asian continent, showcasing its economic and cultural development on a global stage. Who was Emperor of Japan during World War II? Hirohito. Emperor Hirohito reigned during a tumultuous period in Japanese history, including World War II. His role and responsibility in the war remain a subject of historical debate, but his reign saw Japan's expansionist policies and subsequent defeat. What is the capital of Saudi Arabia? Riyadh. Riyadh has been the capital of Saudi Arabia since 1932, serving as the country's political, economic, and cultural center. It is located in the central Najd region and is one of the largest cities in the Arabian Peninsula. Of which country is Vientiane the capital? Laos. Vientiane is the capital and largest city of Laos, situated on the banks of the Mekong River. As the country's administrative and economic hub, it plays a crucial role in Laotian affairs. Who was the Mongol ruler who conquered Persia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia in the 14th century? Tamerlane. Tamerlane, also known as Timur, was a Turco-Mongol conqueror who founded the Timurid Empire in the 14th century. His military campaigns across Persia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia resulted in widespread destruction and cultural exchange. Which two Middle Eastern countries fought a war from 1980 to 1988? Iran and Iraq. The Iran-Iraq War was a protracted and bloody conflict fought between Iran and Iraq from 1980 to 1988. The war resulted in significant casualties and economic damage for both nations, with no clear victor. Which sea lies between China and Korea? Yellow Sea. The Yellow Sea is a marginal sea of the Western Pacific Ocean, located between mainland China and the Korean Peninsula. It is an important region for fishing, shipping, and geopolitical strategy. In which modern country are the ports of Sidon and Tyre located? Lebanon. Sidon and Tyre were significant Phoenician port cities in ancient times, located in present-day Lebanon. They were important centers of trade, navigation, and cultural exchange in the Mediterranean world. The west bank of which river has been occupied by Israel since 1967? Jordan. The West Bank, a territory located west of the Jordan River, has been under Israeli occupation since the Six-Day War in 1967. Its status remains a key point of contention in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Which 15th century navigator discovered the sea route from Europe to India by the Cape of Good Hope? Vasco da Gama. Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese explorer, is credited with discovering the sea route from Europe to India around the Cape of Good Hope in 1498. This opened up new trade routes and facilitated European expansion into Asia. To what name did Burma change in 1989? Myanmar. Burma officially changed its name to Myanmar in 1989 by the ruling military government. This renaming has been a subject of debate, with some countries and groups continuing to use the name Burma. A 25 km causeway, the longest in the world, links Saudi Arabia with which other country? Bahrain. The King Fahd Causeway is a series of bridges and causeways connecting Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. It significantly improved transportation and economic ties between the two nations. Beside which river are the Indian cities of Delhi and Agra situated? Yamuna. Delhi and Agra, two historically significant cities in India, are located on the banks of the Yamuna River. The Yamuna is a major tributary of the Ganges, Ganga, and plays a crucial role in the region's water resources. On which inland sea do the ports of Astrakhan and Baku lie? Caspian Sea. Astrakhan, Russia, and Baku, Azerbaijan, are major port cities located on the Caspian Sea, the world's largest inland body of water. The Caspian Sea is rich in oil and natural gas reserves, making it strategically important. Of which state in India is Lucknow the capital city? Uttar Pradesh. Lucknow is the capital city of Uttar Pradesh, India's most populous state. Lucknow is known for its rich cultural heritage, including its cuisine, architecture, and dance forms. Which country was suspended from the Arab League for 10 years beginning in 1979? Egypt. Egypt was suspended from the Arab League in 1979 following its signing of the Camp David Accords with Israel. This suspension reflected the strong opposition within the Arab world to normalizing relations with Israel at that time. With what is the Japanese art of bonsai primarily concerned? Miniature trees. Bonsai is the Japanese art of cultivating miniature trees in containers. It involves techniques such as pruning, shaping, and root reduction to create aesthetically pleasing representations of mature trees. By what name was Thailand known until 1939? Siam. Thailand was known as Siam until 1939, when the name was officially changed. The name change reflected a desire for modernization and national identity. What kind of wild cattle with shaggy coats and upturned horns live in the mountains of Tibet? Yak. Yaks are long-haired, domesticated bovines found in the Himalayan region of the Indian subcontinent, the Tibetan Plateau, and as far north as Mongolia and Russia. They are well adapted to high altitudes and cold temperatures. Which 13th century Mongol warlord controlled probably a larger contiguous area than anyone in history, from the Yellow Sea to the Black Sea? Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan, the founder and great Khan of the Mongol Empire, united Mongol tribes and conquered a vast territory spanning from East Asia to Eastern Europe in the 13th century. His empire was one of the largest contiguous land empire in history. Which is the principal island of Japan? Honshu. Honshu is the largest and most populous of the 4 main islands of Japan. It is home to major cities like Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka, and contains the Japanese Alps. What is the dominant classical language of the Indian subcontinent? Sanskrit. Sanskrit is an ancient Indo-Aryan language that serves as the primary liturgical language of Hinduism and a significant language in Buddhism and Jainism. It has profoundly influenced many modern Indian languages and continues to be studied for its rich philosophical and literary traditions. In which 1954 battle did the Viet Minh defeat the French and end their influence in Indochina? Dien Bien Phu. The Battle of Dien Bien Phu in 1954 was a decisive military engagement in the First Indochina War. The Viet Minh's victory led to the end of French colonial rule in Indochina and paved the way for the Geneva Accords. What nationality are the Gurkhas, who have fought for the British and Indian armies since 1815? Nepalese. The Gurkhas are Nepalese soldiers known for their bravery and fighting skills. They have served in the British and Indian armies for over 2 centuries, earning a reputation as highly respected and formidable warriors. Which major export of Bangladesh is used to make sacking? Jute. Jute is a natural fiber primarily produced in Bangladesh and is a major export commodity. It is commonly used to make burlap, sacking, and other coarse fabrics due to its strength and durability. What was the former name of Iran? Persia. Iran was historically known as Persia until 1935, when its name was officially changed. The name Persia is derived from Persis, a region in southwestern Iran. Which river runs 1,560 miles to the Bay of Bengal? Ganges. The Ganges River, also known as the Ganga, is a major river in India and Bangladesh, flowing approximately 1,560 miles, 2,510 kilometers, from the Himalayas to the Bay of Bengal. It is considered sacred in Hinduism and is vital for irrigation and transportation in the region. Which Sheikhdom is the capital of the United Arab Emirates? Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is the capital and the second most populous city of the United Arab Emirates, UAE. It is also the capital of the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, the largest of the UAE's 7 emirates. Which native East Asian plant is the richest natural vegetable food? Soya. Soya beans, also known as soybeans, are native to East Asia and are considered one of the richest sources of vegetable protein. They are used in numerous food products and are a staple in many diets. What is the capital of Hong Kong? Victoria. Victoria City was historically the capital of Hong Kong during British colonial rule. Although Hong Kong is now a special administrative region of China and does not have an officially designated capital city, the main government buildings are still located in the central district of Hong Kong Island, which was part of Victoria City. Who founded the modern Republic of Turkey and, in 1934, adopted the surname meaning, Father of the Turks? Kemal Ataturk. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk founded the Republic of Turkey in 1923 after the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire. His reforms modernized Turkey, and in 1934, he was given the surname Ataturk, meaning, Father of the Turks, in recognition of his role in shaping the nation. What is the Japanese product kakimon? Porcelain. Kakimon is a type of Japanese porcelain known for its distinct overglaze enamel decoration, often featuring asymmetrical designs in vibrant colors. It originated in the 17th century in the Arita area of Japan and is highly valued for its artistic and historical significance. Which river, with a vast delta to the South China Sea, originates as the Zaku in Tibet? Mekong. The Mekong River originates in the Tibetan Plateau as the Zaku and flows through several Southeast Asian countries before forming a vast delta in the South China Sea. It is one of the longest rivers in Asia and a vital resource for the region. Isfahan is a major city in which country? Iran. Isfahan is a major city located in Iran, known for its rich history, stunning Islamic architecture, and vibrant cultural heritage. It served as the capital of the Safavid Empire and is home to numerous UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Which Indian poet and philosopher was the first Asian to win the Nobel Prize for Literature? Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore was the first Asian to win the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913. He was a Bengali poet, philosopher, writer, and artist who significantly shaped Bengali literature and music. Which is the highest mountain in the Alps? Mont Blanc. Mont Blanc, also known as Monte Bianco, is the highest mountain in the Alps and Western Europe. Situated on the border between France and Italy, it reaches an elevation of 4,808 meters, 15,774 feet. Which country is divided into cantons? Switzerland. Switzerland is a federal republic consisting of 26 cantons, each with its own constitution, legislature, government, and courts. The cantons retain significant autonomy, while the federal government handles national defense, foreign policy, and monetary policy. In which Italian city is Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper located? Milan. The Last Supper, a renowned mural painting by Leonardo da Vinci, is located in the refectory of the convent of Santa Maria del Grazie in Milan, Italy. It is one of the world's most famous paintings and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. What is the longest river in Italy? Po. The Po River is the longest river in Italy, flowing for approximately 652 kilometers, 405 miles, across northern Italy from the Cortian Alps to the Adriatic Sea. It is crucial for agriculture and industry in the Po Valley. On which river is the city of Verona situated? Adige. Verona, a city in the Veneto region of Italy, is located on the Adige River. The Adige is the second longest river in Italy, rising in the Alps and flowing into the Adriatic Sea. Which poet passed away while aiding the Greeks in their fight for independence? Byron. Lord Byron, a prominent English poet, died in 1824 in Missolonghi, Greece, while supporting the Greek War of Independence against the Ottoman Empire. He is celebrated as a hero of Greek independence. From which country did Iceland gain independence in 1944? Denmark. Iceland gained independence from Denmark on June 17, 1944, during World War II, while Denmark was under German occupation. The Act of Union of 1918 had previously made Iceland a sovereign state in personal union with the Danish king. In which capital city is the Tivoli Gardens amusement park located? Copenhagen. Tivoli Gardens, a world-renowned amusement park and pleasure garden, is located in Copenhagen, the capital city of Denmark. It opened in 1843 and is one of the oldest operating amusement parks in the world. On which river is the city of Prague situated? Vltava. Prague, the capital city of the Czech Republic, is located on the Vltava River. The Vltava is the longest river within the Czech Republic and flows through Bohemia. Which European country restored its monarchy in 1975? Spain. Spain restored its monarchy in November 1975, following the death of General Francisco Franco. Juan Carlos I became King of Spain, marking the end of Franco's dictatorship and the beginning of Spain's transition to democracy. In which autonomous community of Spain are the cities of Cadiz and Córdoba located? Andalusia. Cadiz and Córdoba are cities located within Andalusia, an autonomous community in southern Spain. Andalusia is known for its rich history, culture, and Moorish influence. Which European country colonized Brazil? Portugal. Portugal colonized Brazil in the 16th century, starting with the arrival of Pedro Álvares Cabral in 1500. Brazil remained a Portuguese colony until its independence in 1822. Which country was defeated by the USSR in the Winter War of 1939? Finland. The Winter War was a military conflict between the Soviet Union and Finland from November 1939 to March 1940. Despite fierce resistance, Finland was ultimately forced to cede territory to the USSR. What is the name of the bay between northern Spain and western France, known for its rough seas? Bay of Biscay. The Bay of Biscay is located in the northeastern Atlantic Ocean, between the Iberian Peninsula and France. It is notorious for its rough seas and severe weather conditions, posing navigational challenges. Which city, linked by canal with Rotterdam and Amsterdam, is the seat of the Netherlands government? The Hague. The Hague, officially called S. Gravenhage, is the administrative and royal capital of the Netherlands and the seat of government, although Amsterdam is the official capital. Its strategic location and canal links have contributed to its importance. Which is the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea? Sicily. Sicily is the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea, located just off the southern coast of Italy. Its strategic location has made it a historically significant region. Which city was the capital of West Germany from 1949 to 1990? Bonn. Bonn served as the capital of West Germany from 1949 until German reunification in 1990. After reunification, the capital was moved back to Berlin. In which Cypriot town will you find the Tombs of the Rings? Paphos. Paphos, located on the southwestern coast of Cyprus, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site known for its ancient ruins, including the Tombs of the Kings, often referred to as the Tombs of the Rings. These elaborate rock-cut tombs date back to the Hellenistic and Roman periods. In which country did Grand Duke Jean become head of state in 1964? Luxembourg. Grand Duke Jean became the head of state of Luxembourg in 1964, succeeding his mother, Grand Duchess Charlotte. He reigned until his abdication in 2000. In which country was Pope John Paul II a cardinal before his election? Poland. Pope John Paul II, born Karol Wojtyla, served as the Cardinal Archbishop of Krakow in Poland before being elected Pope in 1978. He was the first non-Italian Pope in over 450 years. Which two countries have a border with Liechtenstein? Switzerland and Austria. Liechtenstein, a small principality in Central Europe, is a doubly landlocked country bordered by Switzerland to the west and south, and Austria to the east and north. Its location contributes to its unique political and economic situation. Which country has, as its joint heads of state, a Spaniard and a Frenchman? Andorra. Andorra's unique political system features two co-princes, the Bishop of Urgell, Spain, and the President of France. This arrangement dates back to the 13th century, reflecting Andorra's historical position between Spain and France. In which country was Adolf Hitler born? Austria. Adolf Hitler was born in Braunau am Inn, Austria, in 1889. Though Austrian by birth, he later became Chancellor of Germany and a key figure in World War II. Which two colors appear on the flag of Greece? Blue and white. The Greek flag prominently features blue and white horizontal stripes, along with a white cross on a blue field in the upper left corner. These colors are believed to symbolize the sea and the purity of the Greek struggle for independence. Which is further north, Corsica or Sardinia? Corsica. Corsica and Sardinia are two major islands in the Mediterranean Sea. Corsica, a French territory, is located north of Sardinia, which is part of Italy. Which European country left the Commonwealth and declared itself a republic in 1949? Eire. Eire, now known as the Republic of Ireland, declared itself a republic in 1949 and subsequently withdrew from the Commonwealth. This marked a significant step in Ireland's separation from the United Kingdom following its independence. The shamrock is the national badge of which country? Ireland. The shamrock, a three-leaf clover, is a widely recognized symbol of Ireland and St. Patrick. It is often associated with Irish identity and culture. In which capital city were the treaties signed that established the European Economic Community? Rome. The Treaties of Rome, signed in 1957, established the European Economic Community, EEC, and the European Atomic Energy Community, Euratom. These treaties were instrumental in the formation of the European Union. Which country was ruled for 40 years by the dictator Antonio Salazar? Portugal. Antonio de Oliveira Salazar was the authoritarian Prime Minister of Portugal from 1932 to 1968, a period spanning 40 years. His regime, known as the Estado Novo, was characterized by corporatism and political repression. What nationality was the 16th century poet and soldier Camões? Portuguese. Luís Vaz de Camões was a renowned Portuguese poet and soldier of the 16th century, considered Portugal's national poet. He is best known for his epic poem, Os Lusíadas, which celebrates Portuguese maritime achievements. Which group held the most seats in the European Parliament after the 1989 election, the left, the centre, or the right? The left. Following the 1989 European Parliament election, the left-leaning political groups held the most seats. This result reflected the political climate and voter preferences at the time across the European community. Of which island is Valletta the capital? Malta. Valletta, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is the fortified capital city of Malta, located on the island's east coast. Its strategic location in the Mediterranean has made it a historically significant port city. In Norway, what are Hardanger and Son? Fjords. Hardanger Fjord and Son Fjord are two of the longest and deepest fjords in Norway, respectively. These geological formations were carved by glaciers during the ice ages, creating dramatic landscapes. In which Polish city was the Solidarity Union formed in 1989? Gdansk. Solidarity, Solidarnosc, a trade union, was formed in Gdansk, Poland, in 1980, not 1989, despite this being a later key year for the union's impact, and played a crucial role in the fall of communism in Eastern Europe. Lech Walesa, a shipyard worker, led the movement. Which French river flows into the sea at Saint-Nazaire and is famous for its chateau? Loire. The Loire River, the longest river in France, empties into the Atlantic Ocean at Saint-Nazaire. The Loire Valley is renowned for its numerous chateaux, representing French Renaissance architecture and history. In which city does the Council of Europe sit? Strasbourg. The Council of Europe, an international organization promoting human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, is headquartered in Strasbourg, France. It is distinct from the European Union, although they share some values. In which year were East and West Germany unified? 1990. East and West Germany officially reunified on October 3, 1990, ending decades of division following World War II. This marked a significant turning point in European history and the end of the Cold War division of Germany. On which of the Greek islands did Bacchus find Ariadne, according to legend? Naxos. According to Greek mythology, Bacchus, Dionysus, discovered Ariadne on the island of Naxos after she was abandoned by Theseus. Naxos is the largest of the Cyclades islands in the Aegean Sea. Which country's parliament is called the Storting? Norway. The Storting is the supreme legislature of Norway, a unicameral parliament elected through proportional representation. It is responsible for enacting laws, approving the state budget, and overseeing the government. Which German city is known as Aix-la-Chapelle in French? Aachen. Aachen, a historic city in North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany, is known as Aix-la-Chapelle in French. It was the capital of Charlemagne's Carolingian Empire and holds significant historical importance. What emblem appears on the flag of Albania? Eagle. The flag of Albania features a black double-headed eagle, a symbol derived from the medieval Albanian principalities and representing sovereignty. The red background symbolizes bravery, strength and valor. Where did Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin convene in 1945 to plan the final defeat of Germany? Yalta. The Yalta Conference, held in February 1945, was a pivotal meeting of the Allied leaders to discuss the post-war reorganization of Europe. Key decisions were made regarding the future of Germany and the establishment of the United Nations. Which country initially attempted, without success, to construct the Panama Canal? France. France, under Ferdinand de Lesseps, began construction of the Panama Canal in 1881, but the project was abandoned due to engineering challenges and disease. The United States later completed the canal in 1914. Which family governed Florence for 3 centuries, commencing in 1434? Medici. The Medici family, prominent Italian bankers and political figures, exerted considerable influence over Florence and later Tuscany. Their patronage significantly contributed to the Renaissance. Who were the Celtic-speaking peoples inhabiting France and Belgium during the Roman era? Gauls. The Gauls were a Celtic people who inhabited the region of Gaul, modern-day France, Belgium, and parts of Italy and Germany, during the Roman period. They were known for their warrior culture and resistance to Roman rule. Which king of England had both his mother and son executed? James I. James I of England's mother was Mary, Queen of Scots, who was executed in 1587. His son, Charles I, was executed in 1649 during the English Civil War. Which battle of 1746 concluded the Jacobite Revolution? Culloden. The Battle of Culloden, fought on April 16, 1746, resulted in a decisive defeat for the Jacobites, effectively ending their attempts to restore the Stuart dynasty to the British throne. Which Soviet leader, known as the Man of Steel, was originally educated for the priesthood but was later expelled from the seminary? Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin, the dictator of the Soviet Union from the mid-1920s until his death in 1953, was a key figure in 20th century history. His early religious training contrasts sharply with his later role as a communist leader. Which country ceded land, encompassing the present-day states of Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, to the United States in 1803? France. The Louisiana Purchase, finalized in 1803, doubled the size of the United States and provided access to the Mississippi River and the port of New Orleans. This acquisition significantly impacted American expansion and trade. Which British monarch married Anne of Denmark? James I. James I of England, also James VI of Scotland, married Anne of Denmark in 1589. Their marriage was a significant political alliance. Which United States president was assassinated 5 days after the conclusion of the American Civil War? Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth on April 14, 1865, just 5 days after the Confederate surrender at Appomattox Courthouse effectively ended the Civil War. His assassination had a profound impact on the Reconstruction era. Who was the Austrian-born dictator who succeeded Hindenburg as Germany's head of state? Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler rose to power in Germany during the interwar period, becoming Chancellor in 1933 and Führer in 1934 after Hindenburg's death. His policies led to World War II and the Holocaust. Who was the African-American educator who was born into slavery but became a prominent leader in the fight for civil rights in the early 1900s? Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington was a leading voice for African Americans in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, advocating for vocational education and economic self-reliance through institutions like the Tuskegee Institute. Which French revolutionary was nicknamed the Incorruptible? Maximilien Robespierre. Maximilien Robespierre was a prominent figure during the French Revolution, known for his role in the Reign of Terror. He was a leading member of the Committee of Public Safety and advocated for radical measures. Where did Florence Nightingale establish a hospital to treat casualties of the Crimean War? Scutari. Florence Nightingale, a pioneer of modern nursing, established a hospital in Scutari, present-day Üsküdar, Turkey, during the Crimean War. Her work significantly improved sanitary conditions and reduced mortality rates among wounded soldiers. Which rebellion was effectively ended by the Battle of Culloden? Jacobite Rebellion. The Battle of Culloden, fought in 1746, effectively ended the Jacobite rebellion, which sought to restore the Stuart dynasty to the British throne. The battle resulted in a decisive victory for the British government forces. What was the first permanent English settlement in the New World, now in ruins? Jamestown. Jamestown, established in 1607 in present-day Virginia, was the first permanent English settlement in North America. The colony faced numerous challenges, including disease, famine, and conflict with Native Americans. Who was the first president of independent Kenya? Jomo Kenyatta. Jomo Kenyatta was a leading figure in Kenya's independence movement and served as the first president of Kenya from 1964 to 1978. He played a crucial role in shaping the nation's post-colonial identity and development. Which country was ruled by the Romanov dynasty from 1613 to 1917? Russia. The Romanov dynasty ruled Russia from 1613 to 1917, a period marked by significant territorial expansion, modernization efforts, and social upheaval. Their rule ended with the February Revolution during World War I. Which country's liberalization program was halted by the invasion of 600,000 Soviet troops in 1968? Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia's liberalization program, known as the Prague Spring, was forcibly ended by the invasion of Warsaw Pact troops in August 1968. The invasion resulted in the suppression of reforms and the installation of a hardline communist government. Which Axis power changed sides during World War II, declaring war on Germany in October 1943? Italy. Italy initially entered World War II as part of the Axis powers. However, following the ousting of Mussolini and an armistice, Italy switched allegiances and declared war on Germany in October 1943. Who was the first democratically elected Marxist head of state? Salvador Allende. Salvador Allende was the first democratically elected Marxist head of state, serving as president of Chile from 1970 until his death in 1973. His government implemented socialist policies that sparked significant political polarization. What was the name of the basalt slab that became the key for deciphering ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics? Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone, discovered in 1799, contains inscriptions in 3 scripts: hieroglyphic, Demotic, and Greek. Its rediscovery was pivotal for understanding ancient Egyptian writing. What title did Charlemagne, already king of the Franks, acquire in 800? Holy Roman Emperor. Charlemagne, the king of the Franks, was crowned Holy Roman Emperor by Pope Leo III in 800 AD. This event marked a significant moment in medieval European history, linking political authority with the papacy. In which industrial process was the inventor Joseph Arkwright responsible for an important breakthrough in 1768? Spinning cotton. Joseph Arkwright's invention of the water frame in 1768 marked a critical advancement in the mechanization of cotton spinning during the Industrial Revolution. His innovation significantly increased the efficiency of textile production. What is the name of the British political regime 1649-60 established by Oliver Cromwell? The Commonwealth. The Commonwealth was the republican government that ruled England, Scotland, and Ireland from 1649 to 1660. Following the English Civil War and the execution of Charles I, Oliver Cromwell played a central role during this period, first as Lord General and later as Lord Protector. Who was the Prime Minister of South Africa who was assassinated in 1966? Hendrik Verwoerd. Hendrik Verwoerd, the Prime Minister of South Africa from 1958 to 1966, is widely regarded as the architect of apartheid. He was assassinated in 1966, leaving a complex legacy related to racial segregation. Which 17th-century king of Sweden was known as the Lion of the North? Gustavus Adolphus. Gustavus Adolphus, King of Sweden from 1611 to 1632, was known as the Lion of the North, for his military prowess and leadership during the 30 Years' War. His innovative military tactics and reforms significantly impacted European warfare. What year saw the nationalization of British Railways? 1948. British Railways was nationalised in 1948 under the Transport Act 1947, marking a significant shift in the ownership and management of the railway system in Great Britain. Who are the only two English sovereigns from whom Prince Charles is not descended? Charles II and James II. Charles II and James II are the only two English monarchs from whom Prince Charles, later King Charles III, does not directly descend. This is due to Charles II having no legitimate children and James II's legitimate line being excluded during the Glorious Revolution. Who succeeded the Roman Emperor, Trajan? Hadrian. Hadrian succeeded Trajan as Roman Emperor in 117 AD. His reign was characterized by consolidation of the empire, extensive building projects like Hadrian's Wall, and a focus on administrative efficiency. Who was the admiral of the French fleet defeated by Nelson at the Battle of Trafalgar? Pierre de Villeneuve. Pierre de Villeneuve was the French admiral who commanded the combined French and Spanish fleet at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. His defeat by the British under Admiral Nelson secured British naval supremacy. During which war did the Battle of Blenheim occur? War of Spanish Succession. The Battle of Blenheim, fought in 1704, was a significant engagement during the War of Spanish Succession, 1701–1714. Allied forces, led by the Duke of Marlborough and Prince Eugene of Savoy, defeated the Franco-Bavarian army. Which royal house consisted of Henry IV, Henry V, and Henry VI? House of Lancaster. The House of Lancaster was a branch of the English royal house of Plantagenet. It produced three kings, Henry IV, Henry V, and Henry VI, who ruled England during the 14th and 15th centuries, a period marked by the 100 Years' War and the Wars of the Roses. In which Indian city did British troops open fire without warning on a crowd of 10,000 in 1919? Amritsar. In 1919, British troops under the command of Brigadier General Reginald Dyer opened fire on an unarmed crowd gathered at Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar. This event, known as the Jallianwala Bagh Massacre, was a pivotal moment in the Indian independence movement. During which war did the Battle of Ramillies occur? War of Spanish Succession. The Battle of Ramillies, fought in 1706, was a major victory for the Allied forces under the Duke of Marlborough during the War of the Spanish Succession, 1701–1714. This battle further consolidated Allied control over the Spanish Netherlands. Which Sultan of Egypt, who precipitated the Third Crusade, subsequently made peace with Richard I? Saladin. Saladin, the Sultan of Egypt and Syria, recaptured Jerusalem in 1187, leading to the Third Crusade. He eventually negotiated a truce with Richard I, Richard the Lionheart, allowing Christian pilgrims access to Jerusalem. In which year did the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor? 1941. The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor occurred on December 7, 1941. This surprise attack led to the United States entering World War II the following day. In which naval battle did Rome decisively defeat the forces of Antony and Cleopatra? Battle of Actium. The Battle of Actium, fought in 31 BC, was a decisive naval battle in which the forces of Octavian defeated those of Mark Antony and Cleopatra. This victory paved the way for Octavian to become the first Roman emperor, Augustus. Which new policy in 1958 was an attempt to achieve true communism in China? The Great Leap Forward. The Great Leap Forward was an economic and social campaign undertaken by the Chinese Communist Party from 1958 to 1962. It aimed to rapidly transform China from an agrarian economy into a communist society through industrialization and collectivization, but resulted in widespread famine and economic disaster. Who was appointed successor to Hitler in 1939 but expelled from the Nazi Party 6 years later? Hermann Göring. Hermann Göring was initially designated as Hitler's successor. However, he was later expelled from the Nazi Party in 1945 due to perceived disloyalty and attempts to seize power as the end of the war neared. What territory was ceded to Britain in 1713 as part of the settlement of the War of Spanish Succession? Gibraltar. Gibraltar was ceded to Great Britain by Spain in 1713 under the Treaty of Utrecht, which concluded the War of the Spanish Succession. This acquisition established a crucial British naval base and strategic foothold in the Mediterranean Sea. Who was the Queen Consort of the British King, Charles I? Henrietta Maria. Henrietta Maria was the Queen Consort of King Charles I of England, Scotland, and Ireland. Her marriage to Charles I was controversial due to her Catholic faith, and she played a significant role in the political and religious tensions of the period, eventually leading to the English Civil War. Where did George Washington's army endure the winter of 1777–78? Valley Forge. Valley Forge served as the winter encampment for the Continental Army under General George Washington from December 1777 to June 1778 during the American Revolutionary War. Despite harsh conditions and significant losses, the army emerged more disciplined and prepared for future battles. Whom did Charles V confront at the Diet of Worms in 1521? Martin Luther. The Diet of Worms in 1521 was a pivotal event in the Protestant Reformation, where Holy Roman Emperor Charles V summoned Martin Luther to renounce his theological views. Luther refused to recant, leading to his condemnation as a heretic and further escalating the religious conflict in Europe. What was the name of the Libyan king deposed by Colonel Gaddafi in 1969? King Idris. King Idris was the ruler of Libya until he was overthrown in a military coup led by Colonel Muammar Gaddafi in 1969. The coup marked the end of the Senussi monarchy and the beginning of Gaddafi's long rule over Libya, transforming the country into a socialist state. Which US president ended his country's participation in the Vietnam War? Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon pursued a policy of Vietnamization, gradually withdrawing US troops while training and equipping the South Vietnamese army to take over combat responsibilities. The Paris Peace Accords, signed in 1973, officially ended US involvement in the Vietnam War. What was the first significant engagement in the American Revolution? Bunker Hill. The Battle of Bunker Hill, fought on June 17, 1775, was one of the early and significant battles of the American Revolutionary War. Although technically a British victory, the heavy casualties suffered by the British boosted American morale and demonstrated their resolve. Who succeeded Henry I as King of England in 1135? Stephen. Stephen of Blois succeeded Henry I as King of England in 1135, leading to a period of civil war known as the Anarchy. His reign was contested by Henry I's daughter, Matilda, resulting in widespread conflict and instability across the kingdom. In which war was the Battle of Shiloh fought? American Civil War. The Battle of Shiloh, fought in April 1862 in southwestern Tennessee, was a major battle in the Western theater of the American Civil War. The Union victory, though costly, was strategically important, securing the Tennessee River and opening up further advances into Confederate territory. Which treaty, following World War I, established the League of Nations? Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, formally ended World War I and included the covenant establishing the League of Nations. This international organization aimed to prevent future wars through diplomacy and cooperation. In what year did the Korean War commence? 1950. The Korean War began in 1950 when North Korea invaded South Korea, escalating Cold War tensions. The conflict involved international intervention, primarily by the United States and United Nations forces. Who articulated their political ideologies in Mein Kampf? Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler, the leader of Nazi Germany, outlined his political ideology and plans for the country in his autobiographical manifesto Mein Kampf. The book details themes of racial supremacy, anti-Semitism, and expansionist goals. Who served as the President of the United States immediately prior to Ronald Reagan? Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter served as the 39th President of the United States from 1977 to 1981. His presidency was marked by economic challenges and the Iran hostage crisis. In which year was Ulster incorporated into the United Kingdom under the Home Rule Act? 1920. Ulster, comprising 6 counties of Northern Ireland, was incorporated into the UK in 1920 through the Government of Ireland Act. This act partitioned Ireland, leading to the establishment of Northern Ireland as part of the UK and Southern Ireland, which later became the Republic of Ireland. What title is shared by the presiding officers of the UK House of Commons and the US House of Representatives? Speaker. The presiding officer of both the UK House of Commons and the US House of Representatives is called the Speaker. The Speaker's role is to maintain order, manage debates, and represent the respective legislative body. Which legislative chamber constitutes the lower house of the British Parliament? House of Commons. The House of Commons is the lower house of the bicameral Parliament of the United Kingdom. Members of Parliament, MPs, are elected to represent constituencies across the UK. Of what type of electoral system are single transferable vote and party list examples? Proportional representation. Proportional representation, PR, is an electoral system designed to allocate seats in a legislative body in proportion to the votes received by each party or group. Single transferable vote and party list are 2 distinct methods used to achieve proportional representation. Who held the office of Vice President of the United States in 1990? Dan Quayle. Dan Quayle served as the 44th Vice President of the United States from 1989 to 1993, under President George H.W. Bush. His tenure was marked by both policy initiatives and public controversies. Which Prime Minister led Britain into the European Community in 1973? Edward Heath. Edward Heath, as Prime Minister, oversaw the United Kingdom's accession to the European Communities, (ACE), in 1973. This was a significant event in British history and shaped the nation's economic and political landscape for decades. Which publication served as the vehicle for John Wilkes's attacks on the Tories, leading to his imprisonment in 1768? The North Briton. John Wilkes's publication, The North Briton **, was a prominent platform for criticizing the government. His attacks on the Tory ministry resulted in his arrest and imprisonment, marking a pivotal moment in the fight for freedom of the press in Britain. How did the suffragette Emily Davison die in 1913? She threw herself under the King's horse at the Derby. Emily Davison was a militant suffragette who fought for women's right to vote in the early 20th century. She is most known for stepping in front of King George V's horse during the 1913 Epsom Derby, which resulted in her death and made her a martyr for the cause. What measure, enforced by Parliament in 1379, triggered the Peasants' Revolt? Poll tax. The Peasants' Revolt, also known as Wat Tyler's Rebellion, was a widespread uprising in 1381. It was primarily caused by the imposition of a poll tax, which disproportionately affected the poor, and the socio-economic pressures of the time. In which country did Pol Pot lead the Khmer Rouge? Cambodia. Pol Pot was the leader of the Khmer Rouge, a communist regime that ruled Cambodia from 1975 to 1979. His regime was responsible for the Cambodian genocide, resulting in the deaths of approximately 1.5 to 2 million people. How frequently are American presidential elections held? Every 4 years. Presidential elections in the United States are held every 4 years, as mandated by the Constitution. These elections determine the President and Vice President of the United States. Israel was proclaimed an independent state in 1948. Who served as its Prime Minister from then until 1963? Ben-Gurion. David Ben-Gurion was the first Prime Minister of Israel, serving from 1948 to 1963, with a brief interruption. He is considered the founding father of the nation and played a crucial role in its establishment and development. Whom did Margaret Thatcher succeed as leader of the Conservative Party? Edward Heath. Margaret Thatcher became the leader of the Conservative Party in 1975, succeeding Edward Heath. This marked a turning point in British politics as she went on to become the first female Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Who is credited with the saying, "A week is a long time in politics"? Harold Wilson. Harold Wilson, a British Labour Party politician who served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, is credited with coining the phrase, "A week is a long time in politics." This quote reflects the rapid pace of change and the unpredictable nature of political events. Which Elizabethan politician, philosopher, and essayist was fined £40,000 for accepting bribes? Francis Bacon. Sir Francis Bacon, a prominent figure of the Elizabethan era, served as Attorney General and Lord Chancellor of England. Despite his intellectual contributions, he was impeached and fined for accepting bribes, highlighting the prevalence of corruption even among high-ranking officials. Who succeeded Clement Attlee as leader of the Labour Party in 1955? Hugh Gaitskell. Hugh Gaitskell assumed leadership of the Labour Party in 1955 following Clement Attlee's retirement. He served as leader of the opposition until his death in 1963, advocating for a revision of Clause IV of the Labour Party's constitution. Whose book, Sexual Politics, is considered a landmark in feminist thought? Kate Millett. Kate Millett's Sexual Politics, published in 1970, is a seminal work of second-wave feminism. It analyzes patriarchy through literature and popular culture, impacting feminist literary criticism and theory. Which American economist is considered a prominent proponent of monetarism? Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman, a Nobel laureate, was a leading figure in the Chicago School of Economics and a strong advocate for monetarism. He argued that controlling the money supply is crucial for economic stability and price stability. In which year did the Representation of the People Act grant voting rights to all women over the age of 21 in the United Kingdom? 1928. The Representation of the People Act of 1928 granted universal suffrage to women over 21 in the UK, achieving equal voting rights with men. This marked a significant milestone in the women's suffrage movement. Who was the fascist leader of Italy from 1925 to 1943? Benito Mussolini. Benito Mussolini established a fascist dictatorship in Italy, ruling from 1925 to 1943. His regime was characterized by authoritarianism, nationalism, and expansionist policies, until his ousting and later execution during World War II. Which human rights organization campaigns globally for the release of political prisoners? Amnesty International. Amnesty International is a non-governmental organization focused on protecting human rights worldwide. It campaigns for the release of prisoners of conscience and investigates and exposes human rights abuses. Which British company effectively governed a substantial portion of India until the India Act of 1858? The East India Company. The East India Company, originally a trading company, gradually gained political and military control over large parts of India. Its rule ended after the Sepoy Mutiny of 1857, leading to the British government assuming direct control with the India Act of 1858. For what offense was former Panamanian leader Manuel Noriega tried in the United States? Drug trafficking. Manuel Noriega, the former de facto ruler of Panama, was tried and convicted in the United States on charges of drug trafficking in 1992. This followed the US invasion of Panama in 1989, aimed at removing him from power. What are the two major political parties in the United States? Democrats and Republicans. The Democratic and Republican parties are the two dominant political forces in the United States. They represent distinct ideological platforms and compete for control of the executive and legislative branches of government. What title is given in Britain to the government minister responsible for internal affairs, a role often called Minister of the Interior in other countries? Home Secretary. In the United Kingdom, the Home Secretary is responsible for internal affairs, including law and order, immigration, and national security. This position is equivalent to the Minister of the Interior in many other countries. Which party leader was a Royal Marine Commando? Paddy Ashdown. Paddy Ashdown, a prominent figure in British politics, served as leader of the Liberal Democrats from 1988 to 1999. Before entering politics, he had a distinguished military career as a Royal Marine Commando, showcasing leadership and service beyond the political arena. Which British Prime Minister fell from office because of his repeal of the Corn Laws? Robert Peel. Sir Robert Peel, a British Prime Minister, spearheaded the repeal of the Corn Laws in 1846, a move that split the Tory party and led to his resignation. The Corn Laws were tariffs on imported grain, and their repeal was a significant victory for free trade advocates. What was the racial segregation policy practiced by South Africa's National Party until 1994? Apartheid. Apartheid, meaning separateness in Afrikaans, was a system of racial segregation and discrimination enforced in South Africa from 1948 to 1994. The policy systematically oppressed the non-white majority and denied them basic rights. Which party was led by Adolf Hitler from 1921 to 1945? Nazi Party. Adolf Hitler led the Nazi Party, National Socialist German Workers' Party, from 1921 until his death in 1945. The Nazi Party rose to power in Germany and established a totalitarian regime responsible for the Holocaust and initiating World War II. How old must you be to vote in a British parliamentary election? 18. In the United Kingdom, the voting age for parliamentary elections is 18 years old. This threshold is a common standard in many democracies around the world, representing the age at which citizens are deemed to have the maturity and rights to participate in the electoral process. How many readings does an Act of Parliament have in the House of Commons before being given royal assent? 3. In the British parliamentary system, a proposed law, known as a bill, undergoes 3 readings in the House of Commons before it can be sent to the House of Lords and, subsequently, receive royal assent to become an Act of Parliament. These readings provide opportunities for debate and amendment at different stages of the legislative process. In which city did Karl Marx write Das Kapital? London. Karl Marx penned his seminal work, Das Kapital *, primarily in London, where he spent much of his adult life. This city served as the backdrop for his detailed critique of capitalism. Which party did F.W. de Klerk represent as South African president? National Party. F.W. de Klerk, the last president of apartheid-era South Africa, represented the National Party. He played a pivotal role in dismantling apartheid and transitioning South Africa to a multiracial democracy, for which he shared the Nobel Peace Prize with Nelson Mandela. What is the term used when a sitting MP is removed as the candidate for a forthcoming election? Deselection. Deselection refers to the process by which a sitting member of parliament, MP, is removed as the official candidate for their party in an upcoming election. This can occur due to various reasons, including poor performance, disciplinary issues, or changes in party strategy. Which member of parliament entered parliament as a Tory in 1833, but became Liberal Prime Minister in 1868? William Ewart Gladstone. William Gladstone served as Prime Minister 4 times between 1868 and 1894, initially as a Tory before transitioning to the Liberal Party, significantly shaping British politics. His reforms included Irish Home Rule attempts and expansion of voting rights. What was the British government forced to abolish in 1991, replacing it with the council tax? Poll tax, community charge. The poll tax, formerly known as the community charge, was introduced in 1989 in Scotland and 1990 in England and Wales, replacing property rates with a flat per capita tax. Its unpopularity due to perceived unfairness led to its abolition in 1991 and replacement with the council tax. Who was the last Foreign Secretary to serve in Margaret Thatcher's cabinet, a Member of Parliament who also contested the leadership after her resignation? Douglas Hurd. Douglas Hurd served as Foreign Secretary from 1989 to 1995, including the final period of Margaret Thatcher's premiership. After Thatcher's resignation, he contested the leadership of the Conservative Party but was unsuccessful. Which publication documents all proceedings of the British Parliament? Hansard. Hansard is the official report of proceedings in the British Parliament, including debates in both the House of Commons and the House of Lords. It serves as an essential historical record of parliamentary activity. Which British Minister of Health inaugurated the National Health Service? Aneurin Bevan. Aneurin Bevan, as Minister of Health in the post-World War II Labour government, spearheaded the creation of the National Health Service, NHS, in 1948. The NHS revolutionized healthcare in the UK by providing universal healthcare free at the point of use. What is the name for the group of opposition spokesmen who comment on the policies of government ministers? Shadow Cabinet. The Shadow Cabinet is a group of senior members of the main opposition party in the UK Parliament who act as spokespersons on specific policy areas. Each member shadows a corresponding government minister, scrutinizing their policies and proposing alternatives. Who was Britain's first ever Labour Prime Minister in 1924? James Ramsay MacDonald. James Ramsay MacDonald led the first Labour government in 1924, marking a significant shift in British politics. Although the government was short-lived, it demonstrated the growing influence of the Labour Party. What became known as the F word at the 1991 Maastricht Summit, where Britain wanted it removed from the treaty? Federalism. During the 1991 Maastricht Treaty negotiations, the term federalism became contentious, with the UK government seeking to avoid language suggesting a more federal European structure. This reflects the ongoing debate about the balance of power between member states and the European Union. Whose book, Inside Number 10, chronicled Harold Wilson's years at Downing Street? Lady Falkender. Inside Number 10 offers a behind-the-scenes account of Harold Wilson's time as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Marcia Falkender, also known as Lady Falkender, served as Wilson's personal and political secretary. What is the name of the Welsh Nationalist Party? Plaid Cymru. Plaid Cymru, meaning Party of Wales, advocates for Welsh independence and the preservation of Welsh language and culture. It plays a significant role in Welsh politics. What is the Swedish term for the official who represents private citizens in complaints against the government? Ombudsman. The term, ombudsman, originating in Sweden, refers to an official appointed to investigate individual complaints against maladministration, particularly that of public authorities. The institution of the ombudsman has been adopted by many countries worldwide. Which US president introduced the New Deal in 1933 to combat the Great Depression? Franklin Roosevelt. Franklin D. Roosevelt introduced the New Deal, a series of programs and reforms, in response to the Great Depression. The New Deal aimed to provide relief, recovery, and reform to the American economy and society. In 1986, Mario Soares became the first socialist president of which country? Portugal. Mário Soares served as the Prime Minister of Portugal before becoming its first socialist president in 1986. His presidency marked a significant period in Portugal's transition to a stable democracy. Which policy contributed to Pierre Trudeau's landslide victory in the 1980 Canadian presidential election? Opposing Quebec separatism. Pierre Trudeau's strong stance against Quebec separatism was a key factor in his victory. This position resonated with many Canadians who sought to maintain a unified country. What is the title of the member of the upper house who is equivalent to the speaker in the lower house? Lord Chancellor. The Lord Chancellor presides over the House of Lords in the UK. This is a senior position in the British government. Who was the first president of France's Fifth Republic? Charles de Gaulle. Charles de Gaulle, a prominent figure in French history, established the Fifth Republic in 1958. He then served as its first president, shaping modern France. Who was dismissed as Australian Prime Minister in 1975 after refusing to call a general election? Gough Whitlam. Gough Whitlam's dismissal in 1975 by the Governor-General remains a controversial event in Australian political history. It led to a constitutional crisis.